Namaste and welcome to one more episode of Reflecting with AINA. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with one of our legends in neurology, Dr. Sanjay Singh. Perhaps he does not need any introduction, but I will try to do a brief introduction. Dr. Sanjay Singh is currently serving as the chairman and professor of and head of department of the neurology at Creighton School of Medicine. He's also the founder and the medical director of neurological services at the Creighton Health Initiative and Creighton University School of Medicine. Dr. Singh has served as the vice chairman of education at the University of Nebraska Medical Center and the program director for the joint Creighton and University of Nebraska Neurology Residency for many years. He has mentored and taught many residents, students, and junior faculty, and his teaching efforts have been recognized by the AIN, and he was awarded the A.B. Baker Teaching Recognition Award. Dr. Singh has authored many peer-reviewed papers that have been high impact, many book chapters, and also he is the author for a Handbook of Neurology that many medical students and residents are using on the neurology wards. Dr. Singh has also served as one of the presidents of our AINA organization, and during that term, and he continues to lead many initiatives internationally, and in recognition of his efforts in improving global health, the American Academy of Neurology has recognized Dr. Singh's selfless and amazing initiatives by being awarded the Mridha Spirit of Neurology Award last year. Many more awards, many speeches and lectures internationally and globally, and I could go on, but I will not take too much of Dr. Singh's time and welcome him to our Reflecting with AINA tonight. Welcome, Dr. Singh. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Rathore. Thank you for having me.
So Dr. Singh, we listed a little bit of your expansive career. I was wondering if you would like to share with us some unique experiences or some formidable experiences that helped you shape your career path or kind of led you to where you are now.
Sure. So let me share in brief some of what I consider turning points as I reflect back on my life. It might help some of the younger colleagues. So the first was right after high school. One of my friends was very interested in psychology. And so by default, I started studying psychology after high school. And that really established the fact that I was very fascinated and very interested in the human brain. And all through medical school, this was just reinforced throughout. And so it became clear to me that I have to be in the field of neurology. Now, in India, my father was a very prominent ENT head and neck surgeon. And so you're expected to follow in your father's footsteps, as most people know who come from India. But I had to actually leave the country to actually pursue neurology. And so that was the other second turning point in my life as I reflect back. Coming to the United States was a true blessing. I got to train at some of the best centers, and I learned a lot through that. Then finally, when I started my career, I joined my colleague, in establishing the Department of Neurology at University of Nebraska. And I became vice chair. I was also residency program director. I was also clerkship director. So it gave me a very well-rounded experience. But as you know, chairs are asked to nominate candidates for chair positions around the country. And so my colleague, who's chair, said, you really don't have any chance of getting this chair position, but it may be good for you to start interviewing for these positions. And so it'll teach you, down the line, 10, 15 years down the line, when you are truly in position, this might help you out. And so I said, yeah, why not? Go ahead. He nominated me, and there were a bunch of candidates for this position of chairmanship. This was at a different institution than where I am now. And so I went and interviewed. There were about 20 candidates. All of them were better than me. All of them were much more senior to me. I was around 40 years old. But in those days, you had several rounds of interviews to be chair, and they called me for a second round, which was a shock to me and a shock to my colleague too. And then I got called for a third round, and I finally got the letter of offer, which I did not accept because I had, they offered me a position here at Creighton University School of Medicine. And so that's how I became chair at a relatively young age, and then have been chair now for over 12 years. So a lot of things have happened by happenstance, and I've been truly fortunate in my life.
So would you say trust your instincts and kind of take a chance?
Yes, always take a chance. If you get an opportunity, do not say no. Either you will succeed or you will learn. That's been my philosophy and experience in life.
Those are great words of wisdom. So I know you mentioned you had to leave your country to pursue neurology, but you kind of tied it back with joining AINA. And, can you share a little bit about your journey with AINA, how you got involved, and kind of how that journey has been for you?
So Dr. Kodagal and I started a group at the American Epilepsy Society of Indian Epileptologists. And it was and it still is an eminently successful group. And so we used to have over 100 people come and attend these meetings. And then information about this spread to AINA and leadership of AINA, which was then led by a very capable president, Dr. Pradeep Sahota, who recently retired, and who was the chair at University of Missouri, Columbia. And at that time, he and I were the only two chairs of Indian American chairs in North America. So he called me up and he said, "This is really important that you get involved with AINA, and help us out with this. You're the only other chair, and it's really important that you do this." And so I would credit Dr. Sahota for getting me involved in AINA. I came in and I saw the great people in AINA that we have. All the past presidents who've done, right from Dr. Sri Mishra and everyone after him. And I got involved in AINA. I sort of got into committees that I was put in. I served in whatever role that was assigned to me. And then a couple of initiatives that were really important to me was one, I think, which a lot of people will relate to, is to give back to our motherland, India. And so how do we do that? So I thought a lot about it. One of the ways that we do that is by holding these free medical camps in India, which I started to do in my personal capacity. And I'm happy to say this year in November, we'll be holding one under the banner of AINA and the Indian Academy of Neurology in Guwahati, in India. So the way to do that, the way we do this is we go to India, we see patients from the poorest sections for free for 2 days. We take a bunch of physicians from the United States. We see about 2,000 patients in those 2 days. So it really does make a difference. But then on the third day, we provide this free medical training to our colleague physicians in India, in the local region, because we want to build capacity locally. And so we've been doing that successfully now, and it has been very gratifying, I must say. The second was in collaboration with our colleagues from the Indian Academy of Neurology, Dr. Surya, Dr. Gagandeep Singh, we started an AINA observership program. This is a 6-week training program where we bring young neurologists from India and train them here in the United States in leading institutions for about 6 weeks or so. And then they go back to India. Their travel and transport is paid by the Indian Academy of Neurology, and AINA provides them with $1,000 scholarship so that for their expenses here. This has been very successful. A lot of people have found it, very appealing, and it is also very satisfying. So these are the two ways in which, we have gotten to really serve India in this manner. Now, we also plan to serve the United States too, and the patients here. And so AINA is now getting involved with some of the foundations to see how can we help first with education and awareness, but also finally with free care.
Those are really important initiatives, and thank you for sharing those, because I know a lot of us feel we want to give back, but we don't know how. And I know the AINA website has the information, so or the newsletter will have information. And I know you and Dr. Kodagal have been advising and trying to steer the committee to form subcommittees where we can have more engagement and help members participate in however they want to contribute back to patients here or back home. So those have been really important initiatives, and thank you for sharing those and coming up with those initiatives. So I know you mentioned a little bit about you started with psychology, and I don't know if you know this, but I didn't come into medicine thinking I was going to be a neurologist. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. And then one of my mentors, Dr. Larson, kind of got me interested in neurology, but I was kind of tearing off because it was all cerebral palsy and seizures. And then you gave grand rounds to the pediatricians about dreams and the state of consciousness. And I was like, okay, well, neurology is way cooler than just seizures. So how did you get interested in that? And do you still kind of do research, or is that still an interest of yours?
Oh, yes, it is. And like you, that is what got me truly interested in neurology, because consciousness, as you know, is the final frontier. We today don't even have a proper definition of consciousness. We have a clinical definition, but we don't have an actual definition of consciousness, which is causing to be a problem, because now with newer technology and advances, we are really going to a state where a definition is badly needed, because we're trying to define if brain organoids that are being grown in petri dishes are actually conscious or not, or pig brains that are brought back to quote unquote life 4 hours after they're quote unquote dead. Are they conscious or not? So it's a fascinating thing. I have always been fascinated by it. Yes, we are doing research in this field, especially in dreams, because if you look at the 3 states of consciousness, which is awake, dreamless, sleep with no dreams, and then sleep with dreams. So the idea is that dream is the part that we know the least about. So I'm focusing a lot of my research efforts in that area. And, it has always fascinated me. And I've, for those of us from an Indian background, one of our Upanishads called the Mandukya Upanishad is all about human consciousness. And so everyone has been interested in consciousness: philosophers, people of faith, spiritual people, scientists. But now I think it has come into the actual proper field where this will be hopefully solved, the riddle of consciousness, and that is in the field of neuroscience.
It would be really interesting if you do kind of continue this work. Recently we spoke with Dr. Sailaja, and she mentioned how she's trying to kind of give more evidence about Ayurveda, and maybe we can get more evidence about Upanishads and consciousness. So I think that's one more amazing thing that the AINA members are doing, is going back to your roots and saying, we knew a lot more even back then. Let's see how we can substantiate it with the science currently. So that's really great. I'm still excited to hear. I know you gave a great TED talk on that. So that's something I think we all think about, but don't really know much about. So thank you for sharing that. So I know you're busy with so many different projects, but no matter when we reach out to you, it never seems like you're hurried or rushed or stressed. So how do you de-stress? How do you get away from work?
Yeah. So one of the things I like to do is to read. And I have, one of the deficiencies I've had is I've never been able to read a book of fiction. So I only read nonfiction. But the side effect of that is that I get to learn about a lot of things other than neuroscience or medicine. And I found that those things have helped me tremendously in my work too. But I love to sit down and read a book. It could be anything from geopolitics to an Upanishad. So all of that interests me, and I think that's one activity I do quite a bit. I also love spending time with my daughter, but now she's gone to college, so I don't get. She's too old to spend time with me now. These camps that I do somewhat regularly in India, they give me great satisfaction. And everyone who has gone and done these camps knows that they are, they really bring to life why we became physicians in the first place. Those grateful eyes of our patients who have no way to repay us, other than those, words of gratitude. That's the basic reason why every one of us became a physician. So those kinds of activities give me great satisfaction and pleasure.
So you would say reading and staying involved with different projects with AINA. So yes. That's wonderful. So I know you mentioned some great advice already, was kind of take the opportunities, if you don't get it, you learn from it. You've built over the years so many different, programs and kind of new positions, and then you grew that. I know, a lot of people that have come from India, especially trained in India, you're really young when you start off, and straight from 12th class, you're medical school, and all you do is kind of medical training. We never get the business sense, or how do you build a program? And the culture here is very different. Would you have any advice for the younger neurologists or the budding neurologists who are maybe trying to or have immigrated, trying to find their place or wanting to do big things?
Yeah, no, I think we have some of the most talented people who come here from India. I think the sky's the limit for them. When I became chair, I looked around to see who else was chair, and there was only one other person. We have since then at least moved on to now 3 chairs, from 2. So we are making progress. I think what I would tell young people is, when you get an opportunity, you go for it, right? Don't think, how am I going to do this? Or I'm not good enough for this, or I'm too young for this. When you get an opportunity, grab it with both your hands and give it your best shot. Number 2, prepare yourself. So, learn leadership. People say, leaders are born. Yes, they're born. But leaders can also be taught, and sometimes self-taught, but better if you do some courses on leadership. The business of medicine is very important. Unfortunately, we don't teach it, in our medical schools or residencies, and we're trying to change that. But, if you can do an executive MBA, there's nothing quite like it. But otherwise, there are many courses around the country. There's a Harvard School of Public Health courses for emerging healthcare leaders. This is a few weeks to a few months course, and you can do those kinds of things. So you prepare yourself if you're interested in leadership, if you're interested in creating a program, because that'll require leadership and require this knowledge of the entirety of medicine, not just medical science by itself. So I would say, whenever you get an opportunity, prepare for it, but then grab it. And also in your life, get good mentors. I've had good mentors in my life, and they have helped me immensely. I would say, and AINA is a great platform for this. You can get mentors who are not in your city or in your state, but they're willing to really spare time and give you advice whenever you need it. So I would say, get good mentors, prepare yourself, and grab an opportunity when it presents itself.
Thank you. And absolutely. You shared kind of all the kind of career paths you kind of brought you here, and, you reached out to friends, maybe not part of AINA at that time, but now we all have this unique opportunity. And AINA is just this unique organization. We have a wealth of, the most talented people trained from most prestigious institutes, and I think we all have a common interest. We're ready to help each other. We've kind of shared the same struggles maybe, or we understand each other's struggles. So, this is just a great reminder for all the AINA members, why we kind of joined this organization. And, we're trying to, under the new leadership, trying to make more initiatives and subcommittees for who wants to be engaged in which manner, whether it be education or engagement or research. And this is just a great time to stay engaged with AINA in whatever manner or whichever capacity anybody's able to. And I've been trying to, encourage other, even people that are not first generation Indians, but have been born and brought up here, to join AINA. And it's just an experience for them too. And a lot of us, I feel like when we're younger, we want to run away from home. And as we get older, our kids get older, we want to go back to our roots. So it's not just we're sharing our careers, we're sharing our, research and practice experiences, but we also get to share that culture and kind of going back to our roots. So thank you for reminding us of that, Dr. Singh. And I really thank you for joining us this evening and taking the time. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Rathore.